Hello and welcome to Byju's Exam Prep IAS. Let's get started and look into our daily quiz. Let's look into the first question. Arrange the following coal types on the basis of carbon content in decreasing order. Bituminous, lignite, peat and anthracite, peat, lignite, bituminous and anthracite, peat, bituminous, anthracite and lignite, anthracite, bituminous, lignite and peat. The answer to this is anthracite, bituminous, lignite and peat. Why have we taken this practice question? Because of the reference to lignite in this Hindu article, which is why we have taken this practice question. We have different kinds of categorizations. What are those? First, what we have is peat, followed by lignite, followed by bituminous as well as anthracite. So when you consider this question, it is asking for the decreasing order. Decreasing order basically means that you have to arrange the following coal types with highest as the first one and the lowest carbon content at the last. So anthracite has the highest content, followed by bituminous, followed by lignite and then peat. But when it comes to the increasing order, what we have is peat, lignite, bituminous and anthracite. Since the question is asking for the decreasing order, the answer to this would be D. When we speak about peat, peat has the lowest carbon content and it is about 30 to 40%, and it also has high moisture content as well. Since this is the first coal form that is formed, it is lower in quality and also has less carbon ratio as well, and it still contains a lot of water and it must be dried before using it. Since it contains a lot of moisture, water content, it has the carbon content that is 30 to 40%. So peat happens to be the first when it comes to the coal type, when it comes to the carbon which is less in nature. The next is followed by lignite. Lignite has carbon content which is approximately about 45 to 50%. Lignite is also known as the brown coal. It is one of the low grade of coal with low carbon content, and it is this particular product which also has high volatile matter. Followed by lignite, what we have is bituminous. Bituminous has high carbon content which is approximately about 60 to 65%. Bituminous coal is soft organic sedimentary rock which contains high volatile matter and also has less carbon than anthracite. So the highest carbon content is what we see is in anthracite. So anthracite has the highest carbon content which is greater than 80%. This is the highest grade of coal where more than 90% carbon and has very low moisture. So which has the highest moisture? It is peat. Which has the lowest moisture? It is anthracite. Which has the low carbon content? It is peat. Which has the highest carbon content? It is anthracite. So you have to know this because this can be asked in your preliminary examination. Now let's look into the next practice question. With respect to C. Rajagopalachari, which of the following statements are correct? The Vedaranya March was part of the civil disobedience movement led by C. Rajagopalachari in 1930. He led the group of no changers in the Congress party who were against entry into Imperial and Provisional Legislative Council along with Vallabhbhai Patel and Ajmal Khan. He was the first Governor General of independent India. Which of the statements are correct? The answer to this is one only. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Hindu makes a reference to C. Rajagopalachari. So remember, India's last Governor General happens to be C. Rajagopalachari. But who was the first Governor General of independent India? It happens to be Lord Mountbatten. So remember, the third statement is wrong. He was the first Governor General of independent India? No. He was the last Governor General of independent India, but the first happens to be Lord Mountbatten. So the third statement is wrong. When you look into the first statement, yes, the Vedaranya March was part of the civil disobedience movement, and yes, it was led by C. Rajagopalachari in 1930. So the first statement is right. When you look into the second statement, he led the group of non-changers in the Congress party who were against entry into Imperial and Provisional Legislative Council. This part is right, but it does have Vallabhbhai Patel in picture into this particular group, but Ajmal Khan was not part of this group, but instead he was part of Swarajis. So what we have to understand is the difference between Swarajis and no changers. Who are these no changers? These are the freedom fighters. These people did not want to be part of the provisional legislative council, and it did not support any of the freedom fighters to enter the legislative wing. So all those people who opposed freedom fighters from entering the provisional legislative council are called as the no changers. This included Vallabhai Patel, this included M.A. Ansari, this included Rajendra Prasad and C. Rajagopalchari. But when it comes to Ajmal Khan, he was part of Swarajis. So who are the Swarajis? They basically wanted to end the boycott of the legislative council. They wanted to be part of the legislative council. They wanted to bring changes within the legislative council, voice out the concerns of the people in the legislative council, and in case there is any weakness within the legislative council, also voice out their opinion against such a concern. So Swarajis wanted to be part of the legislative council, but no changes did not want to be part of the legislative council. If we have to look into some of the important facts, Rajagopalchari was also known as Rajaji or CR, was born on 10 December 1878 in Thoropalli, Agraham, Krishnagiri district in Tamil Nadu. He joined the Indian National Congress and participated in 1906 session at Calcutta. After that, he became more involved in national politics. He took part in anti-Rowlatt Act agitations. He led the group of No Changers. He was involved in Vaikam Satyagraha. And do note, when Gandhi was leading the Dandi March in 1930, Rajagopalchari made a similar march at Vedaranyam and defied the salt laws. He also offered a resolution to the Indian National Congress Muslim League impasse over the issue of partition in the form of CR formula. Now let's look into the next practice question. Which of the following statements is correct with respect to Bharat Gaurav scheme? It was launched by the Indian Railways to tap the vast tourism potential of India. These trains will be run by both private players and IRCTC. Which of the statements are correct? The answer to this is both. Why have we taken this practice question? Because of the reference in the Hindu article. Let us try and understand what are these statements. When you look into the first statement, it was launched by the Indian Railways to tap the vast tourism potential of India. This statement is right. Basically, when you look at the Indian railway system, what you have is two segments. One is the passenger sector, the other happens to be the goods sector. In order to further promote railways and also promote tourism in the country, they came up with what is called as the tourism sector. So what we have is the third segment in the form of tourism, which was added by the Indian Railways. So what we have is the circuits. What are these circuits? Let's say for example, we have the Ramayana circuit, or let's say for example, we have the Guru Krupa trains where they cover all the Sikh cultural places. So identifying these circuits on the basis of culture and ensuring the train passes through these places is the very idea of promoting this tourism. So these trains can be run, yes, both by the private players as well as by IRCTC. So the second statement is also right. So it allows any operator or service provider or virtually anyone to lease trains from the Indian Railways to run on a theme-based circuit as a special tourism package. So private players and tour operators can procure trains from railways on lease and ultimately operate them on any circuit of their choice. In case they want a Ramayana circuit, they can operate on it. In case it is to do with Buddha circuit, it can operate on it. So they decide what theme they want to work on and ultimately operate in that particular area. And as part of the assignment, you have to put on the comment section, we have something called as the Travel and Tourism Competitiveness Report. Who releases this report is what you have to put on the comment section. Now let's look into the next practice question. Which of the following statements are correct? Babur defeated Ibrahim Lodi in the first battle of Panipat in 1526. Baburnama, an autobiography of Zahiruddin Muhammad Babur, was written in his mother tongue Chagatik Turkic. Akbar defeated Rana Pratap in the battle of Haldighati. Shah Jahan was the first Indian ruler after Ashoka to reach Balghat and Badakhshan. Which of the statements are right? The answer to this is 1, 2, 3 and 4. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Hindu makes a reference to Babur, makes a reference to Shah Jahan, it makes a reference to the contributions made by the Mughal emperors. In this particular backdrop, we will try and understand some of the important statements given under this article. When you look into the first statement, yes, the first statement is right. Babur defeated Ibrahim Lodi in the first battle of Panipat in 1526. The first statement is right. Yes, Babur did write his own autobiography, which is called as Baburnama. It is also called by another name as well. What is this other name is what you have to put on the comment section. Initially, when this autobiography was written, it was written in Chagatai Turkic, which happens to be the mother tongue of Baba, and at the same time, eventually over a period of time, this was also converted or translated into Persian as well. Under whose regime was it converted into Persian is what you have to put on the comment section. So initially, it was written in Chagatai Turkic, but over a period of time, under the rule of one of the emperors, it was translated into Persian. During whose rule it was translated into Persian is what you have to put on the comment section. Akbar also defeated Rana Pratap in the Battle of Haldigati. Yes, this statement is right. And Shah Jahan was first Indian ruler after Ashoka to reach Balkh and Badakhshan. This statement is also right. So when we speak about Baburnama, this basically has observations and comments about his own personal experiences. He speaks about the nature of the society, polity and economics as well. He also speaks about history and geography of the land. He also covers diverse topics such as astronomy, geography, statecraft, military matters, so on and so forth, and ultimately gives his perspective about the land in Baburnama. Now let's look into the next practice question. India is a member of which of the following? Asian Development Bank, Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, Colombo Plan, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Select the correct answer using the code given below. The answer to this is 1 and 3 only. Yes, India is part of Asian Development Bank. India is also part of Colombo Plan as well. And this happens to be a previous year question from the year 2008. Now let's look into the fact of the day. The fact of the day for today's discussion is 360-degree appraisal system for civil servants. Let us try and understand what is this concept of 360-degree appraisal system. We have something called as the empanelment. What is this empanelment? Let's say for example, we have the government of India. The government of India has some important positions. Let's say for example, the joint secretary, additional secretary and secretary to the government of India. Those people who are selected to these positions will have to be capable enough of handling that particular department. Let's say we have the finance secretary, or let's say for example we have the secretary or the home secretary for the home affairs ministry. So we have a person who should be capable enough of handling this ministry as well as its protocols as well as its work as well. So what is the major criteria? That major criteria happens to be the merit. Added to it, what was the work that this particular person has done in the past, what have been the precedents that this person has set, what are the innovations that is brought into the system. Everything is taken into the picture. So empanelment basically means that for a particular role there will be a group of people who will be selected. Let's say for example about 5 to 6 people. Their merit would be considered, their work would be considered, and ultimately from this group that is selected, which is empaneled, that is a group of people who are selected, ultimately one person is selected for that particular role by the appointments committee. So what is empanelment? There are large number of people, out of which 5 to 6 people are selected for the designated role, is what is called as the empanelment. When it comes to the empanelment, what we have is the central staffing scheme. Is it a legislative mechanism? No, this happens to be an executive order. So remember, when it comes to empanelment, what are the guidelines and the rules that are being followed? What we have is the central staffing scheme. This central staffing scheme is not a legislative mechanism, but instead it is an executive mechanism. So if a person has to be selected to a designated role, there has to be some report that goes to the appointments committee. There has to be a basis for which that person is selected. So the basis on which he is empaneled or she is empaneled is what is called as the annual confidential report. So what is this annual confidential report? Till 2007, the empanelment process had what is called as the annual confidential report, which was submitted by the superior officers, the contents of which were not disclosed to the officers being appraised. Let's say for example, we have one of the person who should be selected. So what would happen? You would have the superiors in that particular ministry or the department. They will look into the work of the juniors and ultimately they would give a report to the government of India called as the annual confidential report. Since since it is a confidential report, what are the contents of this particular report will not be given to whosoever is the person that is being selected. So until 2007, what we had is the annual confidential report where the superiors used to give an idea about the candidate to the government of India. But in 2008, Supreme Court held non-disclosure of the details and the grades of this particular person who is going to be part of the empanelment is violation of Article 14, and ultimately what in 2008 they came up with is called as the annual performance appraisal report. So in this annual performance appraisal report, it mandates all the superior officers to grade the eligible officers on a scale of 0 to 10 on different kinds of parameter, work output, personality traits, functional competency, so on and so forth. And this is where this was not confidential and it was also given to that particular person. In line with this, what the government of India has also introduced is 360-degree appraisal. So in the annual performance appraisal report and in the annual confidential report, it was only the superiors who were giving their opinion to the government of India. Under the 360-degree appraisal, peers are also asked, juniors are also asked, and at the same time various stakeholders approach, their viewpoint is also taken into picture. So this 360-degree appraisal is nothing but a multi-source feedback from various stakeholders like the seniors, peers as well as the juniors. So in the earlier system, seniors viewpoint was taken into picture, but now what we have is the 360-degree appraisal, which means not only the seniors but the people who are working with that person, the peers and the juniors who report to him, their viewpoints are also taken into picture, which is called as the 360-degree appraisal. So this 360-degree appraisal is for the empanelment, and ultimately the appointments committee will select a suitable person for this designated role at the national level. So this article currently goes on to say that the Madras High Court has upheld the validity of 360-degree appraisal multi-source feedback system introduced by the center in 2016 for appraising the performance of all India service officers in state government service for empanelment. And also note, there are some concerns with respect to 360-degree appraisal. As I told you, what we have is the seniors, what we also have is the peers as well as juniors. Let's say for example, in the 360-degree appraisal, the viewpoints of the juniors are considered. What if this person is honest enough in order to discipline the junior in the past, may also have criticized his action as well? In that case, the junior may give a suggestion, or he may also give a viewpoint which may lack objectivity, which may be biased in nature as well. So the 360-degree appraisal also has its own share of concerns as well. It is this that we have to understand with respect to this topic. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.